Oh, howdy all, grab yourselves a beer, it is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today I wanted to talk about the unprecedented economy that is present in the softcore trade-enabled Heist League, and have a look at some of the things that are causing it. But firstly, the thing that people have generally been talking about a lot is this line here, the Exalted Orb to Chaos Orb price ratio. You'll see that currently Exalted Orbs have fallen to 66 Chaos Orbs at the time I'm recording this. It may be slightly different by the time that you're watching it, but something around that line. And this is a really unprecedented price for day 15 or so of a league. If you have a look at previous leagues at this point in the league, it's more typical for Exalted Orbs to be in the anywhere from the 130 Chaos to 200 Chaos range at this point. And this has been causing people to ask a few questions as to what exactly is going on. Well, the first thing I want to say is that Exalted Orbs are not actually cheaper than usual. And hear me out on this. What's happening is that Exalted Orbs still have roughly the same buying power against all sorts of other genuinely rare consumables in the game. So if we have a look at the five Conquerors of the Atlas currencies, the Awakener's Orb, and the 4 different Elder Slayer Exalted Orbs, those currencies are all in the 1 to 2.25 Exalt range. This is normal. This is where they were, not in Harvest League. Harvest League was a very special case for these currencies, but this is where they were in Delirium, and it's where they were in Metamorph. They're roughly the same price against the Exalt. However, one Awakener's Orb buys a lot less Chaos Orbs than it usually would. One Warlord's Exalt would normally be in the 200 to 250, maybe even 300 Chaos range at this point of a league. Instead, it's only buying 99 Chaos, but that is 1.5 Exalted Orbs. Likewise, if we have a look at the ratio of the Exalt against the Divine, one Exalt is about 11 Divine Orbs at the moment. This is pretty normal. This is about the price that a Divine Orb would normally be in Exalts, although in most leagues, Divine Orb might be 15 Chaos Orbs at this point. And again, let's compare them to the Mirror of Kalandra, the big granddaddy of all of the consumable currencies. And the Mirror of Kalandra is currently sitting at approximately 130 Exalted Orbs. Again, this is a pretty normal price for this time of a league, as there's not yet enough mirror-worthy items for there to be huge demand for mirrors to be consumed, and as a result, there's not people paying 300 Exalts for them yet, although that may happen later. So what we're seeing is a situation where Exalts are roughly the same buying power against most of the other currencies. Obviously, there's a few little things that are different, but broadly speaking, all of the ratios, if you exclude the Chaos Orb, are reasonably similar to where they would normally be. An Exalted Orb is buying approximately 55 Awakened Sextants. This may not be exactly the same as other leagues, but it's not far from it. An Exalted Orb is buying 72 Stack Decks. Again, nothing particularly unusual here. What's really unusual is that Chaos Orb demand is off the charts and Chaos Orb supply has been disrupted. So let's talk about these two effects. Firstly, let's talk about Chaos Orb supply. Chaos Orb's supply in the game comes from 3 major sources. The first one is currency rewards from events within League content. So what I'm talking about here is things like you complete a delve, you open up a chest that's a Glimmering Riches chest, and it contains a bunch of currency, some of which is raw Chaos Orbs. Or you are running a heist, which is obviously more common this league, and you hit one of the currency chests. You open it, and amongst all the different things that are there, there's 3 Chaos Orbs amongst, a couple of Regrets, a couple of Vals, a couple of Scourings, and things like that. This is one of the 3 major sources. This hasn't changed. The second one is Chaos Orb drops from killing monsters. Chaos Orbs are actually quite a bit rarer from killing monsters than most people give them credit for. They're actually, according to a bunch of testing and also data mine data from several years ago, they're only 30 times more common than Exalts to be drops from normal monsters. However, this is still a lot of Chaos Orbs that enter the economy this way, because whatever you're doing, everyone's killing monsters. And everyone from, as long as you're in level 12 zones and higher, you can have Chaos Orbs drop. So there's a lot of them entering the economy that way. The third way, though, is the unidentified Chaos recipe. And I'm specifying the unidentified one because it's the one that gets done the most. If you go to a vendor and you sell them a rare item for every slot in your inventory, and the lowest of the various item levels of those items is in the range at least 60, at most 74, you will receive one Chaos Orb from the vendor. You'll receive an additional Chaos Orb if either of the following conditions are met. Either every item that you presented to the vendor is unidentified, or every piece of armor and weapon that you presented is at 20 quality. Now, the 20 quality one is a bit of a red herring, and even though these do stack, it's generally not worth doing. But the unidentified one is worth doing. And so one thing that players can do, and actually isn't a bad idea at the moment, is going into low tier maps or even into some of the higher level zones in the leveling content in the axe, and just looting all of the rare jewelry that drops. And then once you've got enough rare jewelry for maybe 20 sets of the Chaos recipe, then start picking up all of the other bits as well. Do this, then spend a few minutes at the vendor actually doing all the transactions, and you'll have yourself a whole bunch of Chaos Orbs from doing this. The reason that I point this out, though, the thing that's changed this league is that there are a lot of people who have used bot cheat software in the past to do this. So what they'll do, I guess there's two main categories of people that use bot cheat software. There's people who are first and foremost players, who might then go away from their computer for a few hours, maybe they're watching Netflix, and while Netflix is on, they have some cheat software that continues to play the game for them. They then turn in all of these sets of Chaos recipes, hoping that they don't get caught doing so, because if you do get caught, you will get banned. It is against the terms of service of the game to use these bot cheat software programs, but in the past, GGG haven't been that effective at catching people that have been using them. Well, that's changed, and this league there's been a considerable spike in the number of people reporting that their accounts been banned, both in public Path of Exile forums, but also, now I haven't seen this firsthand, but some people who are really Path of Economy focused players. I'm thinking here of the streamer Path of Math and people like that. Some of them do actually monitor the bot cheat software forums, and they're looking for information on when there's been major ban waves, because they make some economic decisions in the game on that information. Now, I don't do that myself, but I'm aware that a bunch of people do it. And from doing this, there's been a number of reports that the number of bans of people using bot cheat software has increased considerably this league. In particular, people who are using bot cheat software to conduct currency trades for them have been getting banned really heavily. But it's not just those, it is also the Chaos recipe farmers as well. So there's been a bit of a clampdown on bot cheats. But then we have so that's caused a bit of a constraint in the Chaos Orb supply. That would not be enough to have the effects we're seeing here. We have seen successful ban waves in the past, and when those successful ban waves have happened, usually the price of Exalted Orbs in Chaos Orbs falls by about 10%, maybe even 15%. Then it tends to be the case that the bot cheat software developers smarten up, work out what's going on, and redesign their programs in such a way that they hide from the detection that GGG has implemented. Might take them a few tries to get it, but usually they get it pretty fast. I do think it's important to add in a point here that a lot of people think that the people running these bot cheat software are stupid. No, they're not. Bad actors on the internet tend to be very, very, very smart people. And they're very cunning at working out exactly how to get around all these sorts of things. So what else is going on then? Why is it that we're seeing the Exalted Orb being so cheap in Chaos Orbs, but also everything else? Why is it that Chaos Orbs are so valuable? Not just 15% more valuable than usual, but double and a quarter, maybe even double and a half the normal value. Well, fundamentally, it is the Zana mods, and particularly it is the important one, Delirium down the bottom. Spending 16 Chaos to deterministically spawn a Delirium mirror on a map may seem like an extravagant amount to people who aren't used to the meta of high investment map farming. However, it's anything but. There's been a post made on Reddit today where someone's listed all the loot that they got from 24 tropical islands using Xana Delirium. And if you want to get a quick sense of the big things, you'll see here 8 full Simulacrums and a good start of the way to the next one. But additionally, this is only from 24 maps. And additionally, they died twice. And when you die in a Delirium map, you end up getting a lot less splinters than you normally would. They were expecting that had they not died, they probably would have actually made a 9th Simulacrum there. Additionally, there's a whole bunch of other things, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of high item level cluster jewels, lots and lots of contracts and blueprints, a bunch of currency, and all told, turns out that the currency that they got from this bunch of running the Delirium mod ended up being absolutely staggering. Like, the amount that they were making per hour was huge. As a result, a lot of people are trying to mimic this form of farming. And whilst it takes a very powerful character to do this well, it means that the demand for Chaos Orbs is staggering. The last thing that needs to be said about this is that Exalted Orbs tend to be something, because they only really come from item drops and from divination cards. There's not really any practical vendor recipes that create them. There is a recipe for Exalted Orb shards, but it's not particularly practical. And most Exalts in the wild do come from lucky item drops. One of the things that is causing Exalted Orbs to be selling, to keep trending down and down and down further and further, is the fact that the players that have the most currency in the game are the players who are buying the most Chaos Orbs from other players. So the people who have serious wealth behind them, they don't want to store it in Exalted Orbs. They want to store it in Chaos Orbs because they are going to use those Chaos Orbs. And that's something that means that there's a big push from people to sell their Exalted Orbs quickly. They don't want to sit on them for a long period of time, and that causes the price to fall even further and can create a bit of an economic fear of not getting out scenario. So you can have a situation where prices rise because of a fear of missing out scenario, where people think, oh, if I don't buy them here where they're 70 chaos, then I'm going to have to pay more. If I don't buy them when they're at 83 chaos, I'm going to have to pay more later. There's this fear of missing out concept. And then there's the reverse, the fear of not getting out. So someone who saw the value of chaos rising at this point, and hence the exchange rate to Exalts falling, would have thought, okay, well, if I don't sell my my Exalts for 79 chaos today, then I'm going to miss out, and then they're going to be cheaper tomorrow. And they'd be right. And so at that point, they're going to say, well, I'm going to aggressively undercut. And that ends up being a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So do think that we still have a fear of not getting out market at the moment on the Exalted Orb. This could change, however, if we start seeing people determinedly trying to spend huge amounts of currency on crafting mirror tier gear. And that, as far as I'm aware, I haven't really seen many people making serious attempts to craft mirror tier gear yet in this league. But when it does start happening, people who are crafting mirror tier items will end up using a lot of Exalted Orbs up. The way that works is that those people will use Exalted Orbs on the bench recipe that says prefixes cannot be changed, and then hit the item with a scouring orb. So, you get an item with 3 perfect prefixes, you then craft the suffix, prefixes cannot be changed, hit it with a scouring orb, and you've deleted all of the suffixes from an item. You can then try and craft suffixes again. This is a very expensive process because each time that you do it, you're spending 2 exalts on the bench craft to add suffixes can't change, and then you're spending a scouring orb, which is Nif Naf and Trivia, and then you're probably using 2 exalts in a row after that. So you're spending a very large amount of currency and very quickly, and it's easily possible for people to essentially delete 100 to 200 Exalted Orbs from the economy in a very short time using this crafting method. At the high end, people may even spend literally thousands of exalts doing this. So once bases start to exist in the economy that have three incredible prefixes on them, or equivalently three incredible suffixes, and someone decides to try and make a merit tier item, at that point we may see a bit of an uptick. We may see an uptick in demand for exalted orbs, which will coexist with the high demand for chaos orbs. Lastly, I think that because we're going to see a lot more Simulacrum splinters in existence, especially the more that this looting of tropical islands with Zana's Delirium mod, not just tropical islands just probably the best of them. The more that people talk about this, the more people will try and imitate it. And the more people imitate it, the more Simulacrums will be in existence in the Trade League economy. Now, one of the things with Simulacrums that's important is that they generate an enormous amount of loot, but they generate a huge variety of loot as well. So to give some examples, you will see a staggering amount of incubators, which just will never sell again. You'll see a staggering amount of oils entering the economy from Simulacrums, which again will just stop selling. They'll be worth basically nothing very soon. Golden oils, I can't see golden oils even staying above 10 chaos by the end of the league unless something happens. You will see an enormous amount of scarabs entering the economy. These, however, will get used. You'll see a few fossils and a few resonators. You'll see lots of essences, and again, essences will collapse in price, so that's already happened. Essences have already collapsed. And you'll see lots of divination cards, which give pretty much everything else in the game. So what is there that you can trade for that's likely to increase in value? Things that you can store your character's wealth in if you're wanting to, save up for something bigger later in the league. The first thing that you could do is trade for some of the top-end replica items. So let's say, for instance, now I made a mistake. I was going to buy a replica Farrell's Fur earlier in the league. I had enough to trade for it, and then I didn't end up doing it. And that was a bit of a mistake because they're 9x now. But things like this, I'm just calling out replica Farrell's Fur as an example because it's a genuinely good item, and it's one that you can only get through doing the new content, and therefore anyone that's spamming Simulacrums and wants one, they're going to have the resources to buy a replica Farrell's Fur if you've got one, but they're not going to have any capability of getting one except through trading. So items like this are therefore really, really good to consider trading for if you're looking for something to store your wealth in. Other things that are really good are on-meta powerful uniques like Asenath's Gentle Touch, which is very expensive this league. Although I'd be a little hesitant just because it is so expensive. If it was a bit cheaper, I would say it's definitely something to look at. Otherwise, it's just things that can't drop in Simulacrums that I'd be looking at. Those, I think, are the best choices of things that you can pick up in trade from other players. Lastly, if you're not interested in this meta of speed farming maps with the Delirium mirror after getting Zana to add it to them, some of the other things you can look at are running delirious maps. You'll notice that the lower tier Delirium orbs are quite cheap this league, and even basically anything except for the Scarab and the Blight ones and the Breach ones are reasonably cheap this league. You can certainly run 20%, 40%, 60% delirious maps if you want to do that. And there's a lot you can do there. The other thing that's worth considering is that the Simulacrum does not drop good enchanted helmets. It can drop them sometimes. It will drop a lot of low-end enchanted helmets, but good enchanted helmets will not come from the Simulacrum. Broadly speaking, a good enchanted helmet is one with an item level of 85 or higher. And those are going to come from either the Eternal Labyrinth or conceivably even from running very carefully rolled delirious maps using Imperial Delirium orbs, and then you juice up a map and use the various Cirrus Watchstones to raise its level. Lastly, I expect there'll be considerable demand for the premium Cirrus Watchstones this league, because those are really good for both for Delirium farming and also just for all sorts of other various farming strategies. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at this point. A bit of an economic wrap-up. If you've got any comments or questions, definitely fire away below. Otherwise, I hope you have a good one.